Hundreds of new COVID cases in Sydney as a vaccination drive begins for the young. Dozens of new cases in Victoria as the lockdown continues. Queensland calls on Canberra to deploy the army on the border with New South Wales. And some hard questions to answer President Biden's first interview since the Taliban takes over Afghanistan. Good morning. Regional and rural New South Wales will have their lockdown extended at least until the end of the month. Police have fined hundreds of people flouting the rules as the state records a shocking new number of COVID cases. Overnight, there were 681 cases, with at least 59 infectious in the community and, sadly, one new death. Amber Laidler is at a vaccination hub in Sydney southwest. Good morning, Amber. The focus is on younger people today.
Good morning, and yes, this is of course day one of this vaccination blitz targeted at the younger demographic across those 12 council areas of concern. And here at Macquarie Fields, the line, as you can see here, has been very long throughout the morning. We've seen long lines since it opened at 7:30. We understand at this stage they're running about 15 to 20 minutes behind on appointments. It's nothing compared to the chaos we saw here late yesterday, where people were forced to wait 2 to 3 hours to get their jab. Somewhat surprisingly, today the Premier Gladys Berejiklian said she can see the light at the end of the tunnel, referring to our vaccination figures. 5.5 million doses have now been administered in New South Wales. At least 53% of the eligible population have received one dose. 28% of the population are fully vaccinated. So we are edging closer to the Premier's initial target of 6 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. But she says while getting case numbers down is still a priority, she does expect we'll be able to enjoy some freedom once we do reach the 70 and 80% vaccination targets.
I know these are challenging times, but I also can see the light at the end of the tunnel. These are difficult times for all of us, and the next few weeks will be hard. But know that once we hit those high vaccination rates, life will feel much better. Life will look much rosier. And I appreciate what we're going through is difficult. But every state in Australia will have to come to terms with the fact that when you get to a certain level of vaccination and start opening up, Delta will creep in.
681 cases today, and it's another new daily record, up 48 from yesterday. Sadly, one more death recorded. A man who died at St George Hospital. We're told he did have underlying health conditions and had received one dose of the vaccine, taking the total death toll from this outbreak to 61. This morning, the government has also confirmed that the lockdown stay-at-home orders for regional New South Wales will be extended until at least the 28th of August, bringing that lockdown in line with the one we're experiencing now in Greater Sydney. They say that is due to ongoing concern about community transmission in those regional areas, Anne.
All right, Amber, thank you very much. Amber Laidler reporting. Victoria's recorded 57 new COVID cases, the highest daily total in almost a year. Georgia Love is in Melbourne. Georgia, the sharp spike in cases is not all bad news because most people were in isolation.
That's right, and the important number really to look at today is 13. That is how many of those 57 new cases were infectious while in the community. It's obviously not a great number, but better than we first thought when we heard that 57 number. 3 of the cases are mystery cases, which is, of course, a concern. That is what the COVID commander has said he is exceptionally concerned about. It's what we don't know. Now, St Kilda seems to still be the worst part of this outbreak at the moment, where most of our focus is for the cluster that is ongoing there. 15 mystery cases are now linked to St Kilda, and it's caused the government to cast the widest net they have so far. Essentially, they have asked anyone and everyone who has been in the St Kilda area at all to get tested. Now, that is after yesterday a homeless sex worker tested positive. That's caused fears that the virus will run around the homeless community. Hospitals are being told to be on high alert. Now, as well as that 57 number today, that comes on a sobering milestone for us here in Melbourne. Today is our 200th day in lockdown. We are now ranked 4th in the world for cities with the longest lockdowns. And if we do reopen on September 2, as is proposed, that will take us beyond London's lockdown by a full week.
Well, let's hope that happens. Thank you very much, Georgia. Queensland has recorded no new cases of COVID-19 as the Premier asks the federal government for help manning checkpoints on the border with New South Wales. Marlena Wapp is in Brisbane. Good morning, Marlena. Soldiers are set to join police in an effort to keep the virus out of the Sunshine State.
Yes, good morning, Anne. Anastasia Palaszczuk says it would only take one case to creep across the border to trigger a lockdown in Queensland. About 100 troops from the Australian Defence Force will be deployed to help police on the Queensland-New South Wales border. Anastasia Palaszczuk saying the threat from New South Wales is now very real and present. So much so, the government's been moving more vaccines into border communities, but is increasingly worried about the strength of border checkpoints, and that's why the request has been made to the Australian Defence Force. Let's hear now from the Premier.
They helped out last time, and I think that'd be great if they could help out this time. So the request has been sent and we're just waiting for a formal response. But we're hearing that it's being is being considered favourably.
The Premier has played down suggestions that the request to the Army was made because the Queensland Police Service is under-resourced. She says this is really about protecting Queensland and the borders are the last line of defence, Anne.
Marlena Wapp in Brisbane. Thanks very much, Marlena. 199 Australians repatriated from Bali landed in Darwin overnight. The flight was provided by the federal government to help Aussies stranded in Indonesia as that nation struggles with a huge surge in COVID-19 cases. They'll spend 2 weeks in isolation at Howard Springs. New Zealand's COVID outbreak has surged to 21 cases, all in the Auckland area. Jacinda Ardern says the source of the cluster has been traced back to a Kiwi traveller from a Sydney red zone flight on August 7. They tested positive in hotel quarantine and were taken to hospital more than a week later. The federal government has defended its first mission to evacuate Australian citizens and allies from Afghanistan, despite rescuing just a few of the hundreds of people needing help. Political reporter Taylor Aiken is live in Canberra. Taylor, good morning to you. Do we know when the next missions to rescue people will take place?
Not yet, Anne. These missions are highly classified, but the government has said the volatile situation on the ground is further complicating operations. 26 people were evacuated from Kabul airport in a late-night mission under the cover of darkness. On board, Australian citizens, Afghan allies and one foreign official. Prime Minister Scott Morrison saying Australian personnel are now on the ground, processing those who need evacuating and assisting those stranded in getting to the airport and past Taliban checkpoints. But Defence Minister Peter Dutton has stressed the situation is still incredibly dangerous, with thousands of people rushing to the capital's airport.
It's not like turning up to Sydney Airport or Brisbane Airport. The reality on the ground is difficult. I think it's a reality of just the numbers that are there, papers that are being checked and the surge of people toward the airport gates, which become overwhelmed. So, again, that's the reality of what's on the ground.
Meanwhile, the government has been forced to defend the number of humanitarian visas being offered to those fleeing Afghanistan. 3,000 places will be offered under this year's refugee intake, with more in following years. But Prime Minister Scott Morrison has warned people smugglers not to test the government's policies. They remain unchanged, and anyone entering Australia illegally will be turned around. Anne?
Thank you, Taylor. Taylor Aiken in Canberra. US President Joe Biden has given his first interview since the Taliban victory in Afghanistan, saying it was not possible to extract American troops without some degree of chaos. America's military chiefs have also admitted they had not foreseen such a rapid collapse of the Afghan army. Ashley Mullaney reports.
A day after the Taliban promised safe passage for America, its allies and Afghans, it is a fraught trip to the airport for those trying to flee. Shocking images emerging today of Taliban soldiers whipping crowds outside Hamid Karzai airport, and reports too that planes have been taking off half empty because those who want to leave simply can't make it through the checkpoints and through to the tarmac. This all happening as the US President, the Commander-in-Chief, returned from Camp David here to Washington, sitting down for an interview and defending his withdrawal of troops.
The idea that somehow there's a way to have gotten out without chaos ensuing, I don't know how that happens. I don't know how that happened.
So for you, that was always priced into the decision?
Yes.
The US and allies have issued a joint statement saying we are deeply worried about Afghan women and girls and their right to education, work and freedom of movement, saying we call on those in positions of power and authority across Afghanistan to guarantee their protection. This is still very much a delicate and volatile situation on the ground in Kabul, with military chiefs facing tough questions at the Pentagon today, saying that there simply isn't a way that they will be able to rescue people outside the airport perimeter, and saying too that they nor anyone predicted just how quickly the Taliban would take over Afghanistan.
However, the time frame of a rapid collapse that was widely estimated and ranged from weeks to months and even years following our departure. There was nothing that I or anyone else saw that indicated a collapse of this army and this government in 11 days.
There is still some 15,000 Americans, some 65,000 Afghans who are desperately trying to get out and trying to get here to the US. Joe Biden plans to continue having meetings with his security chiefs tomorrow, sticking to that August 31st deadline to have everyone out.
Next in 7 News, Boris Johnson calls an emergency session of Parliament to discuss the crisis in Afghanistan. The Pope's message to Catholics urging everyone to get a COVID vaccine. And a new arrival for actor Scarlett Johansson.
Sometimes in homicide investigations, the person who actually masterminds it is not the actual perpetrator. Behind the scenes, they pull the strings. I knew I had to find a body. We're looking for a needle in a haystack. This is your opportunity to tell your story.
Oh, I didn't do it, Ron.
I'm after the truth.
Homicide with Ron Iddles, Sunday on 7.
The following is a paid message for a chip so iconic, we don't need to name it. No logos, no gimmicks, just those red bags with the stuff you love in it. Mate, you know the brand. It's the three-sided crunch. Trade your buddies for it if they packed a pack at lunch. No logo, but our name's on the tip of your tongue. Shake it for crumbs when the bag is done. Love that cheesy, spicy, crispy, crunchy flavoured pack that rhymes with, I need those. But an ad with no logo, that's for the bold.
A lot of people have sensitive teeth, but gum health is really important. Sensodyne, sensitivity in gum toothpaste, not only deals with sensitivity, it also maintains gum health. 2 benefits for 1 toothpaste. What a great idea.
Following the Australian olive harvest, grower to grower, farm to farm. Hang on, do they know lots of farmers?
Yeah, they're a growers' co.
Well, shut my squeaky gate. Hook me up.
Nope.
Stop thinking, start feeling. The BMW 218i Grand Coupe from 56,900. Drive away. Search BMW 2 Series.
Who could have known that the right food could help your best friend live their best life? You did. And so did we. That's why Hills always starts with the pet's biology. So you're always a step ahead.
I can read your future with that twirl. So it says you're going to get married or fired.
I'm already married.
Exciting.
Your future's in the swirls and curls.
Maybe we could find ways to call time out on our kids' busy routines before they get sick. But if they do, Children's Panadol can start to reduce fever in just 15 minutes. Together, let's rethink care.
The countdown is on to the Italian super jackpot, worth over $100 million. But hurry, it's about to go off. Draw closes midnight tonight. Get your ticket today at lotteryoffice.com.au.
A manhunt is underway in Sydney southwest after a man was stabbed to death. The 47-year-old victim was found with stab wounds to his leg and torso. Paramedics tried to save him, but he died at the scene. Homicide detectives have spent the morning at the house in Bradbury gathering evidence. The British Parliament has held a special sitting to discuss the situation in Afghanistan. Pressure grows for European nations to accept more Afghan refugees. Hugh Whitfeld has more.
British MPs were called back from their summer break, and this is the first time we've seen them packed into the House of Commons since before the pandemic. Today, it was to hear Boris Johnson attempt to explain how 20 years and the loss of 457 British soldiers' lives ended up with Kabul and Afghanistan falling to the Taliban. Ultimately, he said Britain, NATO and the West couldn't continue the mission without America's logistics, air power and might.
The events in Afghanistan have unfolded and the collapse has been faster than I think even the Taliban themselves predicted. What is not true is to say that the UK government was unprepared or did not foresee this.
You'd expect scathing criticism from opposition parties at Westminster, and there was plenty of that today, but Boris Johnson was also forced to confront his own furious Conservative Party MPs, questioning how UK intelligence failed so badly and whether London or Washington was running UK foreign policy. One MP said Joe Biden's withdrawal from Afghanistan was shameful. There are Afghan veterans who sit on the Tory backbenches. They described the impact of what was called a defeat. And Boris Johnson's predecessor, Theresa May, said the failure to forge a new NATO-led alliance for boots on the ground in Afghanistan without the US was incomprehensible. There are concerns right across Europe about a new wave of migrants and terror now that Afghanistan is in Taliban hands. There is an attempt, though, to get the Western alliance back on track. Boris Johnson will host a virtual meeting of G7 leaders next week.
The head of the Catholic Church has added his voice to a campaign to overcome concerns over coronavirus vaccines. Pope Francis has issued a global public service announcement saying that COVID-19 vaccines are safe, effective and an act of love.
Por más pequeño que sea, el amor siempre es grande.
The Vatican has declared that it is morally acceptable for Catholics to receive COVID-19 vaccines, including those based on research that used cells derived from aborted fetuses. Hollywood actor Scarlett Johansson is a new mum. Husband Colin Jost revealed the Black Widow star recently gave birth to a baby boy. They'd kept the pregnancy secret until he shared the news with fans on Instagram, saying they named him Cosmo. It's Scarlett's second child. She has a 6-year-old daughter with her first husband. In breaking news, the latest unemployment figures have just been released. Let's bring in our Network Finance Editor, Gemma Acton. Good morning, Gemma. How do they look?
Good morning, Anne. Well, the jobless rate has actually dropped to 4.6% from 4.9%, helped by 6,400 new part-time jobs. But elsewhere, the participation rate has fallen, indicating fewer people are actually looking for work. Full-time jobs have fallen and hours worked have dropped slightly, but not nearly as much as many were fearing, given the recent spate of lockdowns. These figures follow yesterday's wage growth data, which came in at a disappointing 1.7% for the year. That's far below the Reserve Bank's target of 3%. And after a dour night on Wall Street, we were expecting a weak open for Aussie shares, and we sure got it, with the ASX 200 slipping back under 7,500 for the first time in more than a fortnight. Iron ore prices tumbled overnight, and our major miners are feeling the pain today, with BHP, Fortescue and Rio Tinto among the poorest performers. The Aussie dollar is also struggling, inching ever closer to 72 US cents. Anne.
Gemma Acton reporting. Thanks a lot, Gemma. Next in 7 News, we'll have sport with Jackie Felgate, including one of Richmond's triple premiership stars, announces his retirement. Also, Broncos captain Alex Glenn, also to hang up the boots at the end of the season.
Information on this COVID outbreak is evolving rapidly. Know exactly what it means for you.
7 News, 6 o'clock.
Now, here's a thought. Let's make racing even more exciting.
Ladbrokes has Australia's biggest same-race multi offering across all 3 race codes. Ladbroken with a same-race multi.
For vitamins our kids love, we're Team KidSmart.
Like multivitamin for general health and well-being, omega-3 for brain health, and vitamin C for immune system health.
KidSmart, growing healthy kids.
Dynamo Professional stain experts are testing the toughest stains to develop our best performing stain removal. Dynamo Professional Oxy Plus removes stains for a superior clean. Try Dynamo Professional.
At Spotlight, life's what you make it. VIP save 40% off Elmer sewing machines and overlockers, 40% off cushions and chair pads, and 30 to 40% off all made-to-measure curtains, blinds and shutters. So you can plump it, hang it and sew it for less. Sale on now. At Spotlight, it's what you make it.
Shut up and take my money.
If your credit card debt is keeping you up at night, move your balance to a NAB low-rate card and save on interest with 0% per annum on balance transfers for 32 months, so you can get your finances and your sleep back on track. NAB, more than money.
With Red Rock Deli, there's always something new to discover. Feed your curiosity.
At Chobani, we're leading the way towards protein made whole, the way it should be. Discover a Greek yogurt high in natural protein with 3 cups of Australian milk in every cup of Chobani.
Let's Ladbroke this office party! Mr. Straight Face needs to be Ladbroke, doesn't he? Let's Ladbroke!
Good morning. Richmond triple premiership defender Basher Hooley has announced his retirement. The Tigers star told the Playing Group this morning he'll end his 232-game career. Meanwhile, Ross Lyon has declared his interest in the coaching position at Carlton, with David Teague under siege to remain in charge.
If an opportunity arose, and I say that with the greatest respect, that and they rang me, I would entertain it.
Unless he knows something that I don't know, then I'm going to continue to plan to be the coach next year.
Lyon also revealed he's knocked back a conversation with Collingwood in their search for a new coach. Manly coach Des Hasler says he may wait right up until kick-off to decide if Tom Trbojevic plays against the Raiders tomorrow night. The champion fullback is battling a cheekbone injury. Flanked by family this morning, Broncos captain Alex Glenn announced he'll retire at the end of the season as a one-club player.
It's been 14 years that, I've been putting my body on the line for this great club. And to say that I'll retire as a one-club man, I think that's something that I can definitely hold my head high.
Indeed, the Broncos stalwart has played 282 games. The Australian squad for October's T20 World Cup in India has been named as speculation swirls over the future of Justin Langer. Western Australia's Josh Inglis is the bolter, selected as the backup wicketkeeper ahead of Alex Carey and Josh Philippe. Cricket Australia has publicly backed Langer to continue as coach, despite persistent rumblings that he's lost the support of some of the players.
The amount of respect that JL has for both what he's done and what he's continuing to try and do is huge. There's no doubt, I think there's been a few challenges over the last 12 months.
Langer's contract runs until the middle of next year. Ash Barty is back in action for the first time since the Olympics, preparing for the US Open. The world number 1 defeated Heather Watson in straight sets to advance to the 3rd round of the Cincinnati Masters.
One of those matches today where I had to dig deep and I felt like when it really mattered most, I was able to find some pretty good stuff.
The reigning US Open men's champion Dominic Thiem won't be defending his title due to a season-ending wrist injury. The Grand Slam begins at the end of the month. The first of our Paralympians have begun arriving in Tokyo. 157 athletes and officials left Melbourne last night. Wheelchair star Dylan Alcott flies out tomorrow.
I love what the Paralympic Games represents, not only for sport, but it actually means more than sport for the community of people with disabilities. It breaks down stigmas, changes perceptions.
The opening ceremony is on Tuesday and you'll see all the big moments from the Paralympics on 7 and streaming on 7+. We love Dylan Alcott and he is one of the greats.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing the Paralympics too. Thank you very much, Jackie. Next in 7's Morning News, the national weather forecast.
Australia, this is your chance to win a share in $100,000.
Just watch the chase today to enter. Then watch 7 News to see if you've won. Don't miss your chance to win. Today on 7.
Keeping your dog safe from parasites should be easy. Let's go! Because when they're out doing what they love, you want to know they're protected. That's why more Australian pet owners and their dogs love NexGard Spectra, the most complete parasite protection in one tasty chew. NexGard.
It goes lights, camera, action when I step into the limelight. Easily adapted to the highlight. That's good food and drinks. My mood makes you think that this life's made for a king. So many different things to do within the high life.
For vitamins our kids love, we're Team KidSmart.
Like multivitamin for general health and well-being, omega-3 for brain health, and vitamin C for immune system health.
KidSmart, growing healthy kids.
Brighton, last weekend.
Ibiza, 2015.
Oh my God.
Glastonbury, last summer.
Maltesers Dark, they're very available now.
Get ready for more on Disney+. More Marvel.
This is absurd.
More Star.
Did I write that?
More Disney.
Here we go. Okay.
There's always more to explore on Disney+.
Aquium Ultra Hand Sanitizer kills germs fast and helps moisturise every time you sanitise. Buy any 2 Aquium products for a chance to win 1 of 5 double passes to the 2021 Toyota AFL Grand Final. Find Aquium in pharmacy.
Hey, these bowls are from our first share house.
From the Nazi Goring dynasty.
Wait, where are the others?
Still over our next to his car.
I miss you, baby.
Oh, look at your ties.
Still wasn't the biggest regret I had that day.
Has your betting ever gone too far? Take a sec before you bet and set a deposit limit, whoever you bet with.
This weather report brought to you by Bridgestone Select for tyres and car servicing.
Let's go to the national weather forecast now. And troughs are causing storms over the southwest of Western Australia. Onshore winds are causing showers over the Queensland coast. A high is keeping conditions clear elsewhere. So let's have a look at the national capitals. Partly cloudy in Brisbane today, a top of 23 degrees. A mostly sunny day in Sydney, a maximum temperature of 21. Mostly sunny in Canberra, a top of 17 today. 17 also in Melbourne, partly cloudy today. Partly cloudy for Hobart, a top of 15 degrees. A cloudy one in Adelaide and 20 degrees. Showers and a possible storm in Perth, 18 the top. A sunny day in Darwin, a top of 33 degrees. Alice will be sunny, a top of 27. And that's 7 News to now. We'll keep you up to date throughout the day. Our next major bulletin is at 4 p.m. I'm Ann Sanders. Thanks for your company. Have a lovely day.